you sons. Mankind has only one chance to prosper. If you will not seize it, then I will! See the galaxy freed once more, and if I cannot save it from your failure, Father, then let the galaxy burn!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a more spooky episode of Warhammer 40k, a universe so dark that the edgelord from high school is in charge. Last time we talked about the Tau Empire, an army that loves anime and keeping everyone at arm's length like most anime fans do. But now we are going into the darkest pits of 40k. We are looking at the traitors to mankind and despoilers of the galaxy. The Chaos Space Marines, veterans of 10 millennia, seek to burn the galaxy to ashes and tear the corpse emperor off his golden throne. But before we get into the lore, a disclaimer. Chaos Space Marines have been divided up into several codexes with a potential new one coming for the new edition. We are only focusing on what's known as the Vanilla Chaos Codex. Units from the Thousand Suns, Death Guard, and World Eaters can be taken in a regular Chaos Marine army as allies, but again, we will not be covering their rules in specific units here. Now, let's get into the lore.
I don't feel safe.
The Chaos Space Marine lore begins all the way back in the Great Crusade. The original 9 traitor legions varied in size, culture, and tactics, and their primarchs were esteemed princes of war. Well, some more than others, but the greatest among the primarchs was Horus Lupercal, the first amongst equals of his brothers. Horus was chosen by the Emperor late into the Great Crusade to be his war master, and to take over command of the great work the Emperor had begun. But due to events centuries in the making, the Chaos Gods began their plan to corrupt Horus and turn him to their side. Wounded in battle against an old friend, Horus was ushered to an ancient Chaos temple to save the dying Primarch, and there he was able to speak with the gods directly, who showed him the future of their universe. Ultimately, Horus would side with the gods of Chaos because of the visions he was shown, and trying to prevent that future from happening. Horus would rise out of the temple, and after a year of preparing and swaying 7 other legions to his cause, he would launch the devastating civil war known as the Horus Heresy. The traitor legions swiftly tore the galaxy apart, and the cracks of the Imperium burst open, with hundreds of worlds joining the traitors in their rebellion. Due to overtaxation, need for independence, or to avenge themselves against an Imperium that enslaved them. With Horus and his brothers leading a swift and bloody campaign to Terra, knocking out 3 legions in one swift stroke, and keeping the Imperium's loyal forces scattered, the path to Terra seemed easy and open. However, over the course of the 14-year Civil War, the power of chaos would drive wedges between the traitor forces. Madmen took command. The Primarchs who had ascended to demonhood cared not for the rebellion anymore, and many loyal brothers betrayed each other for power. Horus was barely able to hold his forces together, and was able to bring in the Thousand Suns and his brother Magnus the Red, who years ago tried to sway him away from this path. And they were finally able to reach Terra and put it to siege. Sadly, after staking the final battle and challenging the Emperor to a final duel, Horus would lose the war. Horus died in the duel, and with his death, the traitor forces fled Terra quickly, most fleeing into a tear in reality called the Eye of Terror, while the rest fled to the darkest parts of space to hide and lick their wounds. The forces of chaos may have been pushed back, But their long war had only begun. The warriors from the original heresy still lived to the modern day, continuing their long war against the Imperium, with more and more traitors being added to their ranks. 10,000 years of a rotting Imperium created discontent and rebellion against its authority, and more Space Marines from modern times either fell to the temptations of chaos or rebelled for other reasons ranging from political to spiritual. Chaos is the ultimate threat to the galaxy, and with the end of the 13th Black Crusade led by Horus's heir, Ezekiel Abaddon, splitting the galaxy in literal two, they have only increased in strength and only seen their numbers grow. The veterans of the Long War will only be satisfied with the death of the Imperium and seeing the Emperor's dream torn down and burnt to ash. Let's get into the army.
Join the occult, Dad!
Chaos Space Marines are a rather unusual army, being a mix of heavy elite infantry and swarms of mutants, demons, and cultists. Their special ability for 10th edition is called Dark Pacts. Before a unit is selected to shoot or fight in close combat, you can choose to roll a leadership check. If you succeed, you can either give your unit auto wounds on hit rolls of 6s, or get extra attacks on hit rolls of 6s. But that's not all. You see, my friends, Chaos is ruled by 4 gods, and you are now forced to give each and every unit in your Chaos army something called a mark to signify which god they serve. There are 5 marks in total, the marks of Khorne and Slaanesh being for melee, while Tzeentch and Nurgle are for shooting. However, there is also the mark of Undivided, which gives units equipped with it and who succeed their leadership rolls reroll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1, while also getting one of these bonuses. But if your units fail their leadership roll, they take D3 mortal wounds and lose out on those bonuses. So be aware when making these packs, because they can either swing the game in your favor, or it can cause you problems at times you don't want them to. Now, let's get into your units.
Evil!
Chaos Space Marines make use of regular human slaves, cultists, and corrupted military units. These guys are basically your chaff, your meat shields, the sacrificial lambs. These guys have paper-thin armor and weak guns and melee weapons, but they make up for it with endless numbers. Sure, your attacks are weak and you die to getting sneezed on, but there's a lot of bodies, and with the new, tougher accursed cultists and the new leader unit called the Dark Commune, cultists have improved pretty significantly as cheap units to take that can cause some problems for your opponent.
Shadow, it's me, the devil. I'm here to convince you to do sin.
Chaos Space Marines are similar to their Loyalist counterparts. Good stats, tough armor, and decent ranged and melee weapons. However, where they differ is that Chaos Marines lose some customization options. But with the loss of those options, it means that your units have become more specialized in different areas of warfare and are way better than their Loyalist counterparts. Not only that, but your elite units tend to be way stronger in melee than the Loyalists, with Chaos Possessed, Chaos Terminators, and Chaos Chosen being extremely useful shock troops to break your opponent's line and hold objectives. Sure, you may not be able to adapt like your Loyalist counterparts and lack a lot of customization options for your army, but you get units that are extremely dangerous in close combat and can master specific areas of warfare, unlike their Loyalist cousins.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
Chaos Marines get access to old Space Marine vehicles, Predator tanks, Vindicators, Land Raiders, Rhinos, and the Hellbrood, which is their Dreadnought equivalent. Your tanks fill the same anti-tank and anti-elite roles as regular Marine variants, but are improved by the Dark Packs, as they can either auto-wound or get extra shots. The Land Raider got the biggest upgrade this edition, and is your best armored unit, able to carry Terminators, Possessed, and Chosen into battle. And to make it even more terrifying, units that unload from it are able to charge immediately. This means you get a pretty beefy tank with anti-tank and anti-infantry weapons, along with being a party bus for some of your deadliest close combat units. But you might notice that your armored units are lacking. But don't worry, Chaos always has a way to adapt.
This needs to stop! Now!
With regular Marines constantly getting new vehicles of their own, Chaos needed their own way to keep up, and so they decided that slamming demons into toasters was the best idea in the world. Chaos Demon engines are armored units that vary from artillery to close-range melee units. What they all have in common, though, is that they get a demonic save, which helps protect them from anti-tank weapons. These units hit hard, are tough as hell, and are excellent units to put into any Chaos army.
Okay, first. What? Second?
Chaos has a few characters in the main book, but if I don't throw the Emperor's Children fan in the back of bone, they are going to send something into my mailbox that I don't want to see. Lucius the Eternal and Vashtor the Archifane. Lucius is the Slaanesh champion, and he is a duelist character. He hunts down characters and murders them. Of course, being Slaaneshi, he always gets to fight first, but his unique ability is this. If Lucius dies, he deals D3 mortal wounds to the unit that killed him. But that's not the end of it. If the unit that killed him dies from his damage, Lucius respawns with D3 wounds remaining. He can be an extremely fun character to run for an Emperor's Children army. But now let's talk about the new guy. Vashtor. Dude, talk about a disappointment. Vashtor is the new kid on the block, and he leaves something to be desired. He supports demon engines, and that's about it. He doesn't hit as hard as we expect him to. His flamethrower is just a regular heavy flamer, and he's big. Now, let's get into the actual guy we want to talk about.
Bowser, that long-time bad guy, really does suck.
Abaddon. For the longest time, this guy was a meme in the lore. But with the start of 8th edition, and with a brand new model, he went from being Abaddon the Armless to, oh fuck, it's Abby! Abaddon has always been a murder tornado, and even now, that hasn't changed one bit. His melee weapons tear apart titans and infantry like they are paper. He gives buffs to other chaos units, just like the Primarchs do in other armies, but unlike the Primarchs, he can still join units. If you put him inside a squad of Chaos Terminators, he is practically unkillable on the table. The downside, though, to Abby is that he is a hefty cost to bring. 310 points is nothing to sneeze at, and taking him means you build the army around him. But he is one of the best leader units in the game, and most things Abaddon touch are going to die. And that's Chaos Space Marines, an army that went from jack of all trades to becoming specialized and having a heavier focus on swarms and melee. Sure, Chaos lacks in versatility, and it's much harder to adapt to the situations you're in, but with Dark Pacts, your unit's hitting way harder than regular Marines, and being able to use regular humans to fill in the gaps with bodies, you've got quite a formidable force on the field. Keep the pressure on, and don't let your opponent have a second to breathe with these guys. Thanks for watching, and when we come back, we will be talking about my favorite army of all time, the 1,000 Suns. See you next time.